But anyway, all right, let's jump in. We got a Morphologis video. Did Star Citizen accidentally release Pyro's jump point? Hype or a mistake is in the thumbnail. So little hint into what he might be chatting about here. Let's see. Don't look over here, but it it looks pretty.
So Star Citizen just released a brand new patch to the PTU over the weekend called 321, coming right on the heels of the release of 320. This, if you've not followed Star Citizen, is extremely unusual. And just to fill you guys in, if you're relatively new to Star Citizen,
it's unusual to have a video or have a patch that quickly with a new number. But I don't think the patch is unusual. There's not a whole lot in it. And it's essentially 3.20. Have they even branched from 3.20? Come on, man.
Typically releases patches on a 3-month cadence, where you have to wait 3 months until you get the next patch, or at least the next PTU, and sometimes it even goes beyond that, releases being up to 2 to 3 months later than they were supposed to be. Luckily though, there's not a lot of question as to why, as CIG simultaneously released a post onto the forums explaining the release of this new PTU. To sum it up, they're releasing it early to begin testing the tech necessary for us to be able to jump to a new star system, the next one being Pyro. And that's...
I mean, that's true, but it's also not. It's part of the tech to get there, the replication layer thing, but it's not the piece, right? So it's one of the pieces. So yes, it is part of the way to get us through these jump points, but not all the way. And yeah, I mean, they literally said it's 320, right? And I think the reason for calling it 321 is to honestly, have something exciting at CitizenCon.
Tech, if you don't know, is one step before server meshing. It's not the actual meshing just yet. So CIG is going to be running this new PTU in parallel to the current live release of 320, testing this tech for the duration of, well, we don't know how long, probably for the rest of this year, until they get it stable enough where they're confident that they can release it to live. The post was met with a lot of skepticism. Most people aren't excited for a patch that's mostly testing tech with no real rewards for players. But what people probably weren't expecting, and I wasn't either, was that they actually added in the jump point itself into that PTU, though it may have been unintentional, judging by the state of the way it looks. And this has gotten a lot of players extremely excited.
I think anybody who thinks it was intentional to create this amount of hopium and copium and all this stuff is kind of silly. I think they didn't expect us to be able to get there, right? Or find the coordinates. I don't think they ever think we're going to data mine as heavily as we do. If it was done to create this level of hype, don't you think it would have been a little bit more clean and not as broken and terrible?
For the possibility of seeing Pyro in 2023. Which brings me to the purpose of the video, which was not just to tell you guys about this news, which is pretty exciting, but to also limit your expectations. So let's start with the jump point itself. Right now, if you jump into the PTU 321, and everybody can access it right now if you've purchased a package for yourself, you can get to this new jump point if somebody there gives...
It's already fixed on the latest PTU though? As in those screwed up things aren't in the PTU. That's interesting because I haven't played the latest PTU yet. So if it actually looks really good on the latest PTU, then that kind of does fit that narrative a little bit more, or they are realizing that it is that it has achieved this level of hype that they didn't expect it to, so they went in and cleaned it up. Maybe. Cannot unsee pineapple. Thanks, Mike. They literally called it that. Yeah, that was the idea behind it, was for it to look like that. But yeah, so that's interesting.
you a point to jump to by inviting you to their party. However, it's also possible to find a quantum jump point just floating out in space that you can go directly to, which is going to bring you pretty close to where this jump point's located. Now, how these quantum points are being generated is up for a lot of debate. Some people are thinking that these are being left by players who found it independently, while others are speculating that CIG have secretly been releasing them so that players can find it and build hype organically. Or rather, pseudo-organically. Obviously, if CIG's starting this, it's not exactly fully honest. But I don't think that that's actually the case given the state of these jump points. And that brings...
Interesting. So we agree on that. But now that it's changed, I wonder what he thinks as well, because that sort of changes my opinion a little bit.
Me to what you'll find if you go visit it. Right now, the way the gas clouds look is completely broken from what they've shown us in the past. Clearly, something's gone wrong with the LODs. However, if you get to certain distances, it starts to look pretty good. And if you get close enough to the center, you'll also find the way station that goes between Stanton and Pyro. It's nothing too special, it's just the R&R type station that you'll see scattered around the Stanton system, so if you're looking for something special, you won't find it here.
At least not yet. I mean, it seems very placeholder, and I'm kind of confused. Don't you think the most important station in the system, or the most important stations in the system, since there's multiple jump points, would be the ones at these jump points? Don't you think that these would be the ones with the largest cargo decks? Like, I know, Port Olisar, or now Seraphim Station, and Everus, and Port Tressler, and Bajini Point are very important because they lead down to these major cities. But for interstellar travel, that's even bigger of a deal, no? So, like, the idea of you going through a jump gate coming from another system, most likely you're going to be carrying some cargo, right? Like, cargo is going to be a huge aspect of going through jump points. So I find it very weird to have such a simple station, but my guess is this is all still very far off and still very, very, very placeholder. And I do want to touch on a little something around this, because there has been a lot of polarization in the community around these Pyro jump points. And it is creating excitement, and it should, because it is exciting. It is cool to see something new, okay? And the only thing that I find funny, and that I thought was just funny, never shit on anybody for this point of view, was that, well, I think that, I mean, I will shit on you for this point of view, to be honest, is thinking that because this extremely unpolished, no jump gate location means Pyro 2023. Maybe by the end of the year, we'll have it in a PTU. I don't think so. Right? And that's just where my opinion is. I don't think so. And I think you're really setting yourself up for disaster if you really think that, right? We're just testing replication layer. We don't even have static server meshing. Like, there's so many more things that need to have happen for this to work. And yeah, I mean, one of the main things I'll point out is the station and everything around it. It doesn't do anything. There's no point to it, right? So it seems like the design and the gameplay and thought process here hasn't been fully fleshed out yet. So to think that it's a thing is kind of silly, right? Like, I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool. I had a great time going to it the first time. A lot of people are talking about the Terra jump point. I'd like to go visit that today on stream, to be perfectly honest with you, just to see the difference in the cloud, as you're approaching it and stuff. But outside that, it's just a cool place to check out for a few minutes and then go about your day, right? Because it doesn't do anything yet. And once it does, it's going to be one of the greatest moments in Star Citizen history. But it needs to do something first, right? So I don't really get the level of excitement that people are having, but it's certainly really cool for a couple days, and then we go back to our no gameplay buggy mess for a little bit, and hope those quality of life improvements keep coming.
Does have, though, are these gates that lead you to what will presumably be the location of the actual jump point itself. And this is where it's absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt confirmed that this is the Pyro jump gate, at least the location of where it's going to be. But clearly, it's not ready yet for 321. And if it's meant to be in 321, I highly doubt that we're going to be getting Pyro in this patch. It's purely testing, and server meshing, as they've already stated, is not ready just yet. So while you may have heard from some friends that they think Pyro may be in 321 or before the end of the year, my word of advice is not to put much stock in that speculation. Yeah. My prediction is that this is purely just going to be the jump point, and that it is perhaps planned to come in before the end of the year, but not as a functional jump point, purely as a location that we can visit to build hype. Which, if you think about it, is a pretty good move. It's not the first game to do it. WoW, for example, used to do this with expansions where they would introduce the location's gate that you could enter, but lock it until an allotted time. And this would create a huge gathering of players and community surrounding the release.
How cool will that be? I think that's mega smart. I never played WoW. I remember hearing about these, like when an expansion would open, that people would be hanging around these. That's such a cool point of view and thought process. There is, there's only one jump. There's only one system we're going to be jumping to. Everybody on every server, I should say, is going to be here, right here. And then there's going to be the people dropping A2 bombs on everyone, right? But it's going to actually be very cool. So yeah, dude, that's sick. That's actually exciting. And I do get that copium and hopium and stuff for that moment, but I just don't expect it until they tell us to expect it, right? Because there's so many unforeseen things still. We don't even have a thought about server meshing. No A2s and 0G. Okay, dude. You get the point, okay?
And CIG releasing this in 321, or at least in a more finished version of 321 where this jump gate isn't so buggy, may be exactly what they're doing. They're trying to build hype by giving us the jump point early, but maybe not necessarily Pyro. But you should also equally consider the possibility that this was just purely a mistake and it wasn't meant to be in this patch. And that is absolutely no indication whatsoever.
I think it was a mistake, and I think they fixed it in the aftermath, going, well, this is what everyone's doing, so let's like at least make it not look like shit.
That Pyro is drawing near. Personally, I'm of the opinion that it was intentional for it to be in the 321 PTU release, but perhaps it wasn't meant to be in this state, or findable by players for that matter. But maybe at some point they figured players are going to find it anyway, so they just dropped a quantum point that we could go visit it at in its broken state. And it has had a...
Why remove jank from an alpha? I mean, have you seen the levels of excitement this place has created? I wonder really if it is that WoW example that he's talking about. Because, dude, when I was there, I kind of felt that feeling too. It was like we were all there, and it was kind of funny because everybody was pointed outwards, right? Everyone was pointed outwards towards the exit to Pyro, even though there was no gate there. Everyone was just standing there pointing out like they were waiting. You know what I mean? It was pretty cool.
Generally positive effect on the community thus far. People are getting more excited and feeling a bit more positive about Star Citizen going into the end of this year and the beginning of next year. Something that I must say that I think that Star Citizen desperately needs right now. What I personally hope for is that this is an indication that we're going to see some kind of good announcement at CitizenCon and not more promises about an eventual release of Pyro at some point in the very distant future. As we
will data mining ruin future secret content? Yes, it always does. This is kind of why, and I think I might I kind of want to go back to this place of no leaks, nothing from pipeline in my Discord anymore, things like that. Not because I think data mining is bad, but because I think it's great. I think data mining is, it's how we found the shop locations, right? Like, data mining has been one of the best things that Star Citizen has had, especially because the place is so big. The game is so big, and there's so many locations and so many different items sold in so many different places. It's been awesome. Data mining is important, but things like this aren't so bad, right? Because, like, hey, there's these unfinished locations, you can go check it out. You're not spoiling anything, right? But the idea of, I guess, what could happen in the future is what I worry about, not what this is I think the best part of data mining. But yeah, I do worry in the future, like, every meta will be figured out, every mission location will be all that kind of stuff, right? So
we had in the CitizenCon 4 years ago now, where they talked about Pyro for the first time, giving Star Citizens an actual tangible patch with things that they can experience will go a long way to building hype back up for the game in a time where people are choosing to buy less ships, which is not good for CIG's future. Whatever it might be, though, we're going to find out this.
Yeah, that's why I say this would have never been found with data mining is the reason why this is cool. But when there is gameplay and when there is money to be earned or reputation to be earned, data mining will tell you exactly how to do that. Just go to a Tarkov wiki, right? It tells you what weapons are what, I guess, ammo is the best. It tells you what locations things were at, and then people were hatchet running, going to a specific location every time to get the most valuable items, right? Like, that's what data mining does. Is it's a min-maxer's dream, and they don't even have to do the work to figure out how to min-max, right? So there's always problems with that stuff.
Month, because CitizenCon is coming on the 21st and 22nd of October, and I'm actually going to be there. So if you're going there as well, and you're in the Armed Pro community, I might have something for you. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think that this is an indication that Pyro is coming very soon, or do you think it was just a mistake? Or do you think, like me, that it's a hype building method for CIG to get people ready for the eventual release of
I think it was a mistake, and now they're using it as a hype building method.
Pyro probably sometime next year, like we've all been pretty much speculating. Whatever you guys might think, I want to know down below. So hope to see you guys in the next one.
It was a good video. Thank you, Morph. Yeah, I mean, again, I just want to reiterate that I was excited by this. I thought this was fun. I think it's great that everybody's having fun with it. I just think people need to remember what company is making this game and the history of things, and to not get overly excited and make claims about a patch coming out anytime soon, because it's probably not coming out anytime soon, right? So it's there's so many more steps that we have to go through and hoops we have to go through, I guess, before we go through a jump point. And we will go through those hoops, and we will hear about them before we ever go through a jump point. So until we hear about them, and we did hear about one of them, the replication layer is a big part of that, what's the point in making insane claims like that? That's it. That's the only thing I ever had an issue with, is CIG is not overly hyping this. The community is. And not everybody, almost nobody. A few really dumb people, I think, are the ones that are overhyping it and thinking that Pyro's probably going to be in this year. And guess what? If it is, I would happily, eat my shoe, or whatever they, foot in my mouth, or whatever they say about, whatever you say when you're wrong. I would happily be wrong. And I would be happy for CIG to be different than they've been over all these years, right? And actually deliver something early or on time or, expected. But I just don't expect it at all. So we'll see. But that's my feelings around this whole thing. And I hope you guys remain calm.